In Australia, they do their census every 5 years. And their census is a great way of knowing who the people are in Australia, what they believe, what they're like, what they're doing, things like that. It's such a valuable tool because it's so big, it's so comprehensive. Unfortunately, they are making a very big mistake going into their next census. And that's what I want to talk to you about because it concerns religion. And let me give you a hint because they've done this census in 2011, 2016, 2021. And there's been some really remarkable trends about religion in those years. Check this out. This is a map of Australians' religious beliefs according to the census over the years. And you could see there's been a decline in people who believe in Christianity and a subsequent rise, almost a parallel rise, in the people with no religious faith at all. And the reason I mentioned that, just to give you some numbers here, the percentage of Australians who have no religious affiliation, in 2011, it was about 22%. In 2016, it was 30%. In 2021, it was about 39%. And that's the number I was just showing you right here. 39% is right up there. And so you would think 5 years later, in 2026, you're going to see, if the trends continue, no religion is going to overtake Christianity as the most popular religion in the country. At least it has a plurality of the numbers there, right? So, on top of that, the reason people believe that is because nearly half of millennial Australians have no religion compared to 30% of baby boomers. So, in the 5 years since last time, if old people have died off, odds are you're losing a lot of religious people, and the people who are taking their place have less organized religion. But the only way to verify this is if you're asking the right question about what religion are you, right? Because that's how they're getting this information. What's your religious belief? We need to know so we could figure out what's happening in terms of the religious demographics in the nation. And so I want to show you something. This is how they asked the religion question in 2011. And I want you to think about this. This is how the question was asked. I'm going to remove myself so you could see the full thing. What is the person's religion? And you could see on this right-hand side, you could answer Catholic, Anglican. You could also go Islam, Baptist, Lutheran. Then you get a giant space where you could fill in other. And then look at the very bottom. Very bottom. It says no religion. So if you were raised Catholic, but you no longer believe, what would you fill in here? Maybe you fill in Catholic because that's your family's religion. Maybe you have something else that you believe in now and you would write it in, but there's a good chance you might not even see the no religion option at the very bottom after a big block of text. Like the design of that is unbelievably dumb. And then on top of that, look over there. Look at the instructions for the question. Answering this question is optional. That's fine. Examples of other, please specify, are. So what are the examples of things you could write in? Salvation Army. Yeah, that's a very small but specific religious belief. Hinduism, Judaism, humanism. Wait, so if you're a humanist and you manage to skip all the religious labels, they want you to write in humanism under other, but apparently you are not supposed to fill in the blank for no religion. Like, it's so confusing the way they did that. Because look at the instructions again. They also say after examples of other humanism, then they say, if no religion, mark the no religion box. Well, what is humanism? I think even though philosophically speaking, you could say humanism is a religious belief. That's why you are religious. You're just a non-theistic religion. But a lot of humanists would say, no, I'm not religious. Humanism tells you what I do believe in, but it's not a religion. Okay. It's just a poorly worded question. But that is what they asked in 2011, right? They put no religion in no man's land at the bottom of that list. It cannot be accurate. Horrible. So guess what happened? People complained about that question in the years to follow. And in 2016, when they did the census again, they changed it. in Australia. The government officials who come up with the list of questions, they did the testing, they thought about it, they talked about it, and this is what they did that year. This is 2016. What is the person's religion? And look at the right side now. I know it's a sample only, ignore that. But no religion is now at the very top of the list, followed by a bunch of religious options and then other. Okay, a little better. No religion is no longer like unseen by most of the people taking this survey. However, look at the instructions again. What are examples of other? Humanism is on the list. So if you're a humanist, what do you fill in? No religion? Or do you fill in other humanist? It's very confusing still. So badly worded. What the hell, people? It's such, I don't know. I think the data collectors in this case, if you wrote down other humanist or humanism, they would still lump you in with the non-religious crowd. But again, it's a poorly worded question, right? And here's another problem to bring up with the same thing. Look at the question itself. What is the person's religion? That implies that you'd have a religion and that you should have a religion. And if you're not religious, you have to say, no religion at all. Like, it implies that you should be religious, and that is a problem too, right? Because it's coercive in a way. It assumes everyone's religious. So people complained in 2016 as well. But in 2021, those arguments went nowhere. And in 2021, when they asked the same question, it was basically put the exact same way. This is what they did in 2021. You could see here, no religion still at the top, other is at the bottom. They're still asking, what's the person's religion? And to make matters worse, look at the instructions. What are examples of other? Look at what they now include. Lutheran, Salvation Army, Judaism, Taoism, atheism. So if you're an atheist, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to mark no religion? Or do you scroll to the bottom where it says other and write atheist? I don't know. What the hell? Why are they so bad at this? What is this? So in 2021, they still managed to screw it up. And yet, despite the horrible way they worded that question, you saw that chart at the very beginning. Like, what happened with the number of people who are religious? Christianity went down, no religion went up. Because even the data collectors are like, yeah, no religion includes the other atheists and the people who said no religion, but just a dumb thing to do. Okay, so the bottom line here, why am I sharing all this with you? The number of non-religious Australians, a number that has been on the rise for decades now, I would argue it is even larger than what the census results reveal, in part because the question they're asking is really misleading and poorly worded. Then you consider all the other things that have happened in the past decade or so. Since the 2016 census, a decade ago, in Australia, marriage equality has been legalized. Who opposed that? Religious people. Euthanasia, the ability to end life with dignity on your own terms, that's been a hot topic in Australia. Abortion has been a political battle in Australia. And conservative religious groups have lost those arguments over and over again. I think most Australians have now come to realize that their sense of moral decency is not compatible with the bigoted views of the most powerful religious groups in the country. And on top of that, there have been a lot of scandals involving some of the most prominent Christian preachers in the country, including a guy named Brian Houston of the megachurch Hillsong. So religion's not doing great there. There's a lot of reasons people would want to walk away from a religious label, if not the religion itself. And on top of that, there have been active campaigns by non-theistic groups urging people to say no religion on the census. They actually have done this the past couple go-rounds on the census because they've seen headlines, and maybe you've seen them too, where like people in Australia say, I'm a Jedi, I'm a Pastafarian, because it's funny and it's cute, but that counts as a religion. And so there were campaigns urging people, listen, this is not the time to joke around. if you do not belong to the religion you grew up in, if you are not religious today, just say no religion. Just color in that box. Don't be cutesy about it, because we want accurate information, right? They put up billboards urging people to just be honest. Mark no religion if you're not religious. And that may be why those non-religious numbers jumped as much as they did. So here's the thing. After the 2021 census, that was still poorly worded when it came to the religion question, a lot of non-theistic groups said, hey, census people, we want you to change the question. And this is how we want you to do it. This is what they proposed, basically, to get rid of all those problems we just talked about. I'm going to blow this up here. Here's what they want to ask. Does the person have a religion? Not what is your religion, because we assume you have one, but do you have a religion? Answer 1, no. Answer 2, yes. And then you tell us what your religious label is. And if you look at the options, for example, you could say you're a Buddhist, Catholic, Anglican, Hindu, Sunni, Jew, Sikh, whatever. This is a beautifully worded question. This is what they were proposing. This is the better way to do it. Ask them if they have a religion. If they say no, the answer is no. If they say yes, they can fill in whatever label it is. And hey, then the census people can lump together all the Christian brands, if you want to say what the Christian number is, whatever. By asking it like this, not only would the assumption that everyone has a religion disappear, it would allow people to offer their own religious labels rather than picking from some pre-selected list. All right. So to their credit, the Bureau of Statistics in Australia, they actually tested out that very question. They asked it, they wanted to see if it would work. Unfortunately, and this is why I bring this up, because this just happened recently, was it this week or last week, the Bureau of Statistics announced, yeah, we're not changing anything for 2026. Mostly, they said, so we can just compare results this time around to the results from last time around. And this is what they wrote on their website. The feedback from consultation highlighted that it is not possible to design a question that will meet the range of needs identified. In addition, understanding the impact that a question change would have on response patterns and comparability between censuses requires a more extensive testing program than was possible within the 2026 census timeframes. All of that is to say that's a long way of saying, listen, we need to do more work before we send this out into the wild, and we don't have that time right now because we got to get this thing out the door real soon. And also, we want to make sure that if we get answers, we can compare them to 5 years ago so we can compare apples to apples, and this will not allow us to do that. So unfortunately, they're just saying we cannot make that change, which is unfortunate. The one change they said is we will not, in the instructions for the badly worded question, we won't say atheism is an example of other. We're going to remove that from the list, but the question will be the same as it was 5 years ago. And in response to that, there is a group that worked 5 years ago, the Census 21, not religious, mark no religion. There's a coalition of people urging people to mark no religion. This is what they said this week when they found out that news. There we go. This is from Michael Dove, the spokesperson for the campaign. The Australian Bureau of Statistics has sacrificed accuracy in seeking to placate the powerful Catholic Church-led resistance to changing the question. More on that in a second. We will continue to compare flawed data from the present with flawed data from the past. As a result, the census will continue to provide an embarrassing case study of how to create bias through poor questionnaire design. Right on. The one silver lining here, there is a clear need for another large public campaign to encourage Australians to mark no religion if they are no longer religious. So hopefully we will see a bigger campaign to get people to mark no religion. But I wanted to go back just really quickly. What about the Catholic Church? And it turns out that one of the leaders, the president of the Australian Catholic Bishops' Conference, his name is Timothy Costello, He has actually been arguing against changing the question for several months now. This is what he told one reporter. The new format, this is the revised question that just says, if do you have a religion? The new format attempts to divorce religion from culture and tradition, presuming these are no longer significant. Such a change would mean results from the 2026 census would not be comparable rather, with results from earlier censuses. Yeah, because the Catholic Church is really concerned about statistics and not, oh no, if we tell people it's okay to say no religion because that's the way the question is worded, a lot of them might say they're not religious and we would lose our power. So the Catholic Church actively lobbied against making this change, saying, this is going to be bad for you. You won't be able to compare the two surveys. So, ask people if they're religious and put Catholic at the top there. And they got what they wanted. So it is fair to say the Catholic Church opposed this. And one other thing on that front, did I miss it? Nah, maybe not. But whatever the outcome is, it just means the census in 2026, it won't be as accurate as it could be, but hopefully more people than ever will mark no religion. I hope they do. But despite undercounting the number of non-religious Australians, I think there is still reason to believe Christianity will finally be outnumbered when the results are finally released in 2027. So whatever that difference turns out to be, though, remember, it's probably much larger. The gap between no religion and Christianity, it's probably a lot larger than it turns out to be because of the bad way the census is asking this question. Okay, I know that one's a little nerdy, but I was really intrigued by that and I want to share that with you. What questions we got here? It's like they're trying to upset people with the way the question is worded. Maybe they thought it was a good question years ago, but it's poorly worded today and they don't want to fix it because they've already invested so much time and effort into asking the wrong question. It's unfortunate. At least atheism isn't a religion box. Yeah, oh my god, that would be so much worse. And I could totally see them doing that too. No religion should be an option. And it is now. But again, the way they're asking it, very bad.